Just if you don't mind, a bit of a word game. I'll just throw a few names.
A word game?
A word association game. Just the first thing that comes into your head, I'll just throw a few names out there and...
Very bad, this.
So here we go. Okay. Patrick Troughton.
Oh, he was my favourite Doctor.
Yep. Nicholas Courtney.
He was great fun, Nick. He's I did. Of course, I remember him on the programme and I watched it, and then I did a story with him, so that was great. But he's great guy. He's a great chap.
Anthony Ainley.
Anthony Ainley. He was great, but he was a big wuss.
Really?
Yeah, he was meant to be the most evil man in the universe, and he was one of the biggest cowards.
Oh, right.
Because they used to have these special effects, you know. And he was playing the master, and we had this scene once where he was about to destroy me, and he was going to fire this gun, and this thing blew up. And they special effects, I think, put too much sort of, I don't know, whatever it is, gunpowder in it, and it made a louder noise than they'd warned us. And I turned around, and Anthony Ainley had disappeared behind a rock. He was afraid he was going to be blown up, but he was very nice. He was a great cricket fan.
Tegan.
Tegan, you couldn't shut her up. Janet and I, we had a kind of interesting relationship when we did the programme, actually. It got a lot better since. We didn't get on badly, but I was always slightly frustrated by the fact that the essential character trait of Tegan was that she didn't want to be there, which I always found a bit of a problem in the programme. But we stayed in touch. You know, we stayed in touch since, and we meet up, of course, socially on occasion, but also for these DVD commentaries, which I love doing with Janet, because they have to stop us because we're being too vicious sometimes. I tell them, you should record it because this is great stuff. But anyway,
it's a couple more. John Nathan Turner.
John Nathan Turner. Well, he cast me, so I thought he was great. I think his big forte, John, was really for getting publicity for the show. He did got amazing publicity. And it seemed barely a day would go by when there wasn't something about Doctor Who in the newspaper. So he raised the profile fantastically. I think some of the ideas he had were. We never fell out. We got on very well, but I did argue with him about some of the sort of decisions. You know, he had the idea, for example, going back to your previous word association, Tegan. I think he thought he had the idea if he got an Australian air hostess in, that we would get free trips to Australia. See, that didn't happen. And then he thought that if he got Perry in, that because she was American, yeah. Except of course she wasn't, which kind of defeated the whole purpose. But if you got that would increase the viewing figures in America. But unfortunately, the thing that they like in America about Doctor Who is that it's British, not that it's American. So that didn't work either. Okay. And it didn't help that she wasn't actually American. But apart from that, I mean, his ideas for the show were always to enhance the kind of profile of it. So you can't really knock that.
And David Tennant.
Well, I think he's fantastic. I think he's fantastic in the role. He's a terrific actor. In a way, I was sort of surprised that he took the role. In retrospect, I think he was absolutely right to, but he was sort of very much, you know, we have a term in the UK, flavour of the month, before he did Doctor Who. But he was desperately keen to do it because he was a huge Doctor Who fan. And I think it's turned out to be right. And, I've watched every one of his stories about sort of 3 or 4 times because I have to with my kids. They don't want to watch me anymore. They want to watch David Tennant. And so I see him sort of socially quite a bit. Well, I say quite a bit. He's been around the house a few times, and he's played Guitar Hero with my kids, and they're better than he is. Anyway.
So will he be there, Doctor?
Well, I think yes. The answer to that. Yes, he will.
I think it was a pretty special moment in that time crash. Yeah.
It was, yeah. No, it was great. It was a great fun. It was a fantastic script. that Stephen Moffat wrote, because I remember I was asked a lot before we did it and before it went out, what is it? Is it serious or is it a spoof? And I said, well, the answer is really it's neither. It's not serious. It's not a spoof. It fits in perfectly well. I mean, it could have slotted in to that bit between those two episodes and been left in because it fitted in with no problem at all.
Sure did. 2 more questions.
Okay.
What was the worst thing about being the Doctor?
The worst thing about being the Doctor?
The worst.
As an actor, you never really got away from the worry of what would happen after it. When I was doing it, we used to rehearse in what they call the acting rehearsal rooms in the BBC. And every week I would see contemporaries of mine coming in to do particular parts in something and then going away and coming back. And I was, being Doctor Who. And however much you want it to be about acting, Doctor Who is primarily, at least it was then, it's a bit different now, it's a bit more kind of dramatic and powerful now, but then it was very much mostly about a technical process. You had to be in the right place at the right time, and you had to run with great speed up corridors, and there are moments. I mean, the last story I did with Caves of Androzani, I think, was most powerful as far as acting is concerned. I enjoyed it most of all. But so it meant you were a little frustrated all the time about the very nature of the programme. Mm-hmm. I don't regret it at all. It was enormous fun, but it was very much about technical expertise, which set you in good stead. That was it, really. I just loved being in the costume. The only ones I didn't like were when I had to get out of the costume, which in Black Orchid, and I can't remember the name of it now. One of the Sea Devils, I had to get out of my costume, and I didn't like that at all. I was very so comfortable in it. I was very happy just to stay there the whole time.
Yeah. And lastly, what's the best thing about being Peter Davison?
Best thing about being Peter Davison? Oh,
yeah.
Lord, I don't know what the best thing about that is. I don't know, because I don't even notice. It depends on how you feel. Sometimes it's great to be, it's nice to be recognised and to be sort of, and sometimes it's a bit of a nightmare. If you're just sort of going around the supermarket and trying to do your shopping, and you're aware all the time there are people nudging each other, going, "Look, it's him," and they don't keep their voices down either. It's almost as if they think you are in a different dimension. So you'll be there, sort of picking out fish fingers, and they'll be going, "It is him. I'm sure it's him. He looks just like him." So that's not so good. But then other times it's very nice. You just sort of go and smile. I tell you, I'm actually quite shy. But when I was growing up, I was very shy, and inevitably, with a bit of celebrity comes this business of you have to appear in public, and you have to do things like open fates or whatever. And I didn't really know how to handle that. And then I was asked to do another particular fate, and I said to Robert Hardy, I think it was, we're doing All Creature. I said, what? I don't really know what to do because I'm not naturally. I said, well, just play Tristan, or play a part. So that's what you kind of tend to do. So there is a kind of public persona that you slip into very easily, but it's not quite you. It's more about me now. I'm getting very grumpy as I get old, and you're less kind of worried about that. But I went along to this first fate I ever did. Yeah. It's not really Doctor Who related. It's more Tristan, but. And I said, I'm very pleased to be here, but if anyone needs me, I'll be in the beer tent. And they loved that, because it was kind of, and I don't drink beer. So it was very much a kind of, public persona that you just slip into. So it's almost like an alter ego that I have, I suppose.
Way to go. Well, Peter, that's all we've got for today.
Okay.
I really appreciate your time. Thanks for myself, all of us at B Movie News, and your Australian fans.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
What exactly is a B movie, actually, now? I mean, how do we know? Do you designate it? And what exactly are you suggesting? B movie?